Hi, Mom.
Hi, Harry.
How you feeling?
Feeling good. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good too. I know this is a spot that you often, well, a little farther back, sit in and feel good about. You like sitting right here, don't you?
I like sitting right here when, but you mustn't tell this, when I'm watching television.
Okay.
Because I get a good view of the television this way. So this is my chair of choice for that. In addition, it's not too bad for reading. So it's mostly my chair of choice for that. So it gets more used than any of the other by me.
And how about this view?
Love the view. I'm a light freak, as you know. So I love looking out the window, and I love it here particularly because every window you look at, you see Shenley Park. And you see it, of course, in all the seasons. Right now, it being January, you see it bereft of leaves. But I like that view, and the view back of me is also a little strip between us and the golf club, that belongs to Park Mansions, and it's grass and oak trees, so it's nice. I love it all.
It is such a light, comfortable apartment, isn't it?
Yes, I love to walk into this apartment. I walk into this apartment and I just feel a wonderful feeling of, and it's good. And I bless Herbie Siegel, my dear friend and architect, who really put together the apartment from what it was the year we bought it. It took him a year of ripping out and putting in, but he did it just right, I think.
Now, you grew up in apartments, a little bit different from these, but when you were a kid, you always lived in an apartment?
Yeah, we lived in apartments in Brooklyn.
And what was the first apartment you lived in? Where was it located?
I remember Ocean Avenue, between Avenue R and I guess the next street, but I can't tell you whether it went up or down because I was only two that I remember. But I remember that apartment because that's where I learned to tell my right hand from my left hand. And so anytime I wanted to find my right hand, I had to employ the test from that apartment, which was if you lined yourself up next to the kitchen door and you looked out at the front door, this was my right hand. So in later years, it was always easy to find my right hand. I just had to put myself visually or virtually back in that apartment.
So you remember doing this at age 2?
I don't say that I remember doing it at age 2. I remember doing it at an age subsequent to that, recalling 2. I do remember another incident when I definitely was 2 years old.
Tell us. Will this be your first memory?
It might be my first memory.
Okay. What was it?
You know how every kid has a really frightening person who appears in dreams, and they're either going to kill you or get you or kidnap you, or something terrible is going to happen if they ever get to you. Well, I had one of those who appeared sometimes in my dreams. And this one day, I was 2 and my sister was 5. She was in kindergarten. And I didn't go to school. My mother was a homemaking mother. And so it began to pour outside. And Ruthie, my older sister, didn't have a raincoat. So my mother put me down in a chair, very much like this, except I was pretty small. I sank into it like this.
Your toes coming off here. Yeah.
Right. And I sat there, and she said to me, "No, I have to go get Ruthie. I have to give her her rubbers and her umbrella to get home. I want you to sit in that chair, and I don't want you to move out of it. Don't move out of that chair till I get back. It'll only be about 5 minutes." It seemed to me like 5 hours. And I sat in the chair, and I remember sitting in the chair waiting for the man to appear momentarily to come and get me. That's my earliest memory.
Now, your birthday, what is September 30th, and you've placed some significance on that date when you think about it in the past. You've told me
some significance.
Yeah. Well, why do you think you were a mistake as a baby?
I definitely was. Oh, yes, of course. 9 months exactly after New Year's Eve, I was born. I'm the only Pittsburgher, New Yorker in my family. My family are all Pittsburghers. And just before I was born, they moved to New York. So my mother had the pregnancy those 9 months. But right after they moved to New York, I was born in Brooklyn at the Israel Zion Hospital. Uh-huh. And so I became the New Yorker in the family. And was it until high school when I came back. They all moved back to Pittsburgh and me with them, and I became a Pittsburgher.
Okay. And do you think your parents, in fact, hadn't been planning to have another child?
I know my parents were not happy about having a second child. The times were not very good then. It was 1928. Uh-huh. Not an ideal time to appear and say, hello, me too. So they weren't thrilled. But they were very nice to me. They fed me,
took care of me.
And shelter, clothing, the whole bit.
So back to shelter. So Ocean Avenue, you live in for a couple years. How many different apartments did you live in as a girl?
Oh, I remember one on Ocean Parkway, then moving back to Ocean Avenue, and staying on Ocean Avenue, and then moving back to one near Ocean Parkway. So really basically 3.
Were they all pretty much about the same in layout?
They were similar in layout. They were always in the back. My sister told me in later years that the reason they were that way is because she said, don't you know we're poor? We can't live in the front. And I said, no. And she said, well, why do you think we live in the back, in the apartments that are dark? And I said, I think because Daddy likes it in those apartments. But we always did live on the back part of the apartment. But they were very comfortable apartments. My mother did a fantastic job of being housekeeper.
How many bedrooms?
Well, initially, there was a bedroom for Ruthie and me, and one for my parents. When my grandfather died, at my age 9, my grandmother moved in with us. So then we took another room right next door, and we had yet another bedroom.
You mean you went to a new apartment that was?
No, we broke through the wall.
Really?
Of what had been the superintendent's apartment, and got another room that way, and then my grandmother used that.
Now, I have some pictures here. Well, this, I think, what is this? Is this actually, may I show it to her? Yeah. Is, I think, your own photograph album as a girl?
God, I don't remember. I thought it was black.
Okay. So
you don't suppose it could have evolved into red? I don't think so. Yeah, here I am.
How old are you in that one?
I would say, in these pictures, the first one's my mother and dad, but the one down below that is my sister and me and my great-grandfather and his wife. She was his second wife, and my mother and dad. My great-grandfather, Calvin, his name was Kalbin.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, lived to be 105.
Really?
And they lived here on Forward Avenue, right opposite Alderney's High School. When he wanted to cross the street, he was a very kind of imposing man, tall and really athletic looking. When he wanted to cross Forward Avenue here, up near Alderney's, he used to raise his cane. He had a cane and go like this to the traffic till they stopped, and then he would proceed across
parting the cars.
Right. And I didn't have much back and forth with them because they spoke Yiddish and I didn't understand.
That was their
language that they spoke, I think. So I didn't see a lot of them. But we're looking here at my mother's family, my Aunt Ida, who had a house. We used to call it in the country. It was out Route 22 in what would today be ideal, expensive real estate. But that's their house. We used to come to Pittsburgh. That was our vacation. We'd come to Pittsburgh on the excursion at night. And
the excursion train.
The excursion train, and the 4 of us would be in two seats facing each other. and my father pushed and made into beds. And we'd sleep, the four of us, head to head to head to, and come here. And here we are. Geez, I haven't seen those pictures of my grandparents in a long time.
Now, your great grandfather. This is all on your mom's side,
On
Dorothy's
my mother's
side.
side, yes.
When
they lived in
did
Pittsburgh.
she or her family emigrate,
Come to Pittsburgh?
or come to the United States, or
They came,
Pittsburgh?
well, to the
Same
United
thing, right?
States. I think they came straight to Pittsburgh. It was before 1900 that her family came. My mom was born in 1901 here. No, that's not correct.
I thought she came when she was
born,
2.
No, she came when she was 4 months.
Oh, okay.
Her 5 months in my grandmother's arms. And I believe where they came from was Odessa. And that's when they came. So that would be right around the break in the century. My father came a few years later. He came from a little town called Radomysl, outside of Kiev, where he went to school. He went to the gymnasium, which was very unusual for Jewish kids. And he used to walk back and forth to school Monday morning till Friday evening. He'd stay with friends in Kiev. And anyway, getting back to here, he came in the early 1900s. My mother's family, of course, they didn't know each other, came in about 1900 as well.
So when they came, your Peter and Calvin, everyone came together. Of the Perlows.
No, I think they came in groups of 2. You know, they came, and then 2 more came, and then 2 more came. And my grandfather opened a business here in Pittsburgh called something linen supply. Somewhere, and it might be in here, we have a photograph of a truck that says something linen supply. Did you see one, Diana?
I don't think I did.
Oh.
Here, well, now we'll come back to this, but
Okay.
let's talk about go back to your dad coming over a little bit later, and
Okay.
I think we do have a picture of your dad's family on a vacation in Atlantic City. But you've told me a very tender story about his going to school every Monday.
That's in Europe.
In Europe, yes, I know.
Yes,
Can
yes.
you?
Yeah.
say it?
Well, most Jewish kids could not go to the gymnasium. They were just not permitted. But some, if you took tests, those who were performed at the very top were allowed to go to the gymnasium.
And we're in Tsarist Russia here, right? When are we talking about?
Like 1900, 1901, maybe 1899. And he took the test. He got into the gymnasium, but his town was about 7 miles from school. And the only reasonable way to go was walking or cart or something like that. So he used to go every Monday morning and not come home till Friday late afternoon. And his mother, as I understand it, was a very lovely, loving woman. He always told me I looked like her. I don't know, but she used to, every Monday morning, she would feign some reason that she had to go into Kiev. So my father didn't have to walk in alone. He was frightened. He was a little kid. And so she either had to deliver bread, or she had to pick something up, or she had to see somebody about something. But every Monday morning, she was there waiting for him to walk her to town. Very sweet.
She later died in a pogrom. Is that right?
Yeah, it was a very sad story. This was after my father left there. She was religious. They were quite religious. My grandfather on that side was very learned. He used to lead services. I forget what you call that person who leads services, who's not a rabbi.
Balcore, maybe?
Tell me?
Balcore?
Something like that,
Yeah.
I think. But anyway, uh, they, because it was Passover coming up, she changed her dishes from regular to Passover, and they moved out of their house temporarily because this pogrom was coming through, and they were frightened for their lives. And she baked bread and apparently sold bread to the neighbors. She said she had to go back to their house because the Passover dishes were there, and she needed to get them. And they didn't. Her husband didn't want her to go back and said it's not safe. And she said, no. The neighbors won't hurt me. And she went back and they shot her. She died.
I remember.
My father became so anti-religious when he heard that for years he wouldn't step into a synagogue.